Hey, look, it's the TheDinoCollector, yay! Hey everyone, Nick's the TheDinoCollector, and today we will be taking a look at the Bandai Toho Kaiju series, Godzilla, from Godzilla 1954. Now, this figure looks like this because it was released around Eiji Tsuburaya's 100th birthday, and for those who don't know, Tsuburaya was the VFX director for the original 1954 Godzilla, and many others afterwards. Now, getting back to this figure, it's a really good figure. But is it still a very good release even to this day? Well, let's start this off by looking at his tag. Now, taking a look at this tag here, it's a very nice tag. And yes, this is just the standard Toho Kaiju series Shodai Goji tag, but it doesn't look out of place on this figure. On the bottom, we get the Toho Kaiju series name along with Shodai Goji or Godzilla 1954. And we have the Godzilla 2001 sticker, and yes, it's a real sticker. Why can't they just do that with no more releases nowadays? Now looking at the inside of the tag, not too much unlike the modern movie monster series tags and possibly this translation. And looking at the back of the tag, we get a beautiful bit of all the Godzilla monsters from the Showa and Heisei era. And again, it says Toho Kaiju series, and that's about it. And since this is a older figure and an exclusive too, we will put him through the baby penny sleeve, and of course, the big fat top loader. That looks super good. And now that we're done with that, let's take a look at his articulation. Godzilla can move all the way around at the arms, both of them, of course. The legs can move all the way around like this, all the way around. And lastly, this tail, unlike modern movie monster figures, is actually movable. Yes, this figure has a movable tail. And just because of the fact that this tail can actually move, I will give this figure a 10 out of 10 in terms of articulation. And now, let's take a look at the paint and detail on this figure. In terms of paint, Godzilla has zero paint whatsoever, nothing on the eyes, chest, claws, or dorsal fins. There's nothing. The only color on this figure is brown. Honestly, I could have wished there would be some gold or some sort of darker brown dry brushing adorning at least the chest of the figure. But what we got was what we got, and I like what we got. Now you might think this might hinder the detail, but since of course this is a translucent figure, you can actually see the details really well. The muzzle looks good, no detail in the eyes, and is it just me? But these eyes look bigger than they should. Maybe this is just me, but they look bigger than they should. But anyways, we do have some visible detail on the teeth, that's pretty nice. And the neck and dorsal fins on this figure, like at least the dorsal nubs here, they look pretty good with the Godzilla skin, like the Godzilla scales all around it. It looks really nice. Now looking at the chest, we can see Godzilla scaling all throughout, but we can see some detailing that was on the muzzle, on the chest here, to signify that T-like design on his chest. As you can infer, the rest of the body will mainly have those Godzilla scales, and that is true. But we also have some nice line details here on the tail, and at the top of the tail, we can see some of those dorsal nubs all the way to the very tip of his tail. Moving on to his arms and legs, here we can see some of those Godzilla scales and some interesting details on his knees here, and they look absolutely fantastic. His toes do look good too. As you saw earlier, the same goes for his arms and fingers here. And lastly, those dorsal fins. They're decent, they're not too bad. My main criticism with these dorsal fins is that they're too dull, and don't get me wrong, I love this rocky feeling on his dorsal fins, but the parts where they're protruding out over here and over here, they just look dull. Now remember that because that'll be important for later. Also, these dorsal fins are surprisingly small. So overall, the detail here really, not even paint, just the detail, we'll get an 8 out of 10, mainly because of those dorsal fins, and I still feel like these eyes are a little too big, so yeah, but that's still pretty good. And now that we're done with that, let's take a look at his size and size comparisons. In terms of size, Godzilla will be 5 3/4 inches tall to 6 inches tall, and as for size comparisons, Here he is next to the movie monster series Godzilla 1975, the Bandai Godzilla exclusive Megalon and Jet Jaguar, the Bandai movie monster series Gamera 1995, and lastly here, I'll go out, the Bandai Godzilla Island Monster Series Heisei Era Godzilla figure. And now for the true comparison, here he is compared to the modern Bandai movie monster series Godzilla 1954. And if you're wondering where his tag went, he's somewhere in my old top loader section. Yeah. But there are two things I want to point out. For one, the 2001 figure, he's shorter for some reason. I don't know why he's shorter. He's just shorter for some reason. And lastly, remember how I said that the dorsal fin sculpt, they're a lot more, they're like really dull on this figure? This figure actually fixes that issue. Just look at this main one over here. This one looks a lot better than this one. Like, I don't know why, it just looks a lot better. But in every other aspect, I feel like this figure is so much better than this figure in almost every way. Anyways, I'm done with you for now. And this last comparison, I'll be comparing this figure, the one you're looking at right now, to my very old Bandai creation Godzilla 1954. Now again, I'm going to be comparing their dorsal fin sculpt in general, and not paint actually, it's just dorsal fin sculpt, for these two figures. And this one just drives the dorsal fin sculpt, like the detail home. Just look at this. Just look at that sculpt. It looks super out there. It looks really good compared to this one. I know this one isn't too accurate, but maybe tone down the extreme parts of it, maybe this one being stuck out so much. And just put it on this figure, please. Like that. This looks so good. Like, this is one of my favorite figures of all time. It still is. And it just looks super good, man. Looks super good. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And yeah, that's it. Overall, I'm going to be giving this figure a great 9 out of 10. This is a very, very good figure. And the best thing is, this figure isn't actually that rare. I mean, if you're looking at the right places. So if you want to add a very cool vintage Godzilla figure to your collection, this one, you gotta grab this thing. Grab it on eBay, or Mandarake, I think, sells a couple of them. But yeah, they sell for like 20 to 30 bucks, so they aren't too expensive. And yeah, that's pretty much it for me. Happy Godzilla Day. And I'll see you guys later in the next video. Yeah, that's about it. Bye. No, Rodan. Okay. Nope, this is not good. I'm holding him by the beak.